In 1949, Arthur Miller sat down in a small studio he'd built behind his house in Connecticut. And in 6 weeks, he wrote a play about a man who believed everything America told him. The man's name was Willy Loman. He was 63 years old. He was a traveling salesman, and he was tired. Miller later said that the play came to him almost whole, the way a dream does. He said he could hear the voices before he could see the characters. He called it Death of a Salesman. And America's never stopped arguing about what it means. Here's what Willy Loman believed, because it's what he was told. That in America, a man who works hard and is well liked will be rewarded. That the right handshake opens the right door. That a father who provides will be remembered. That the house will be paid off. That the sons will do better. It was a beautiful story, and for a while, the numbers backed it up. In 1940, if you were born in this country, you had a 92% chance of earning more than your parents did. 92%. By 1984, 35 years after Miller wrote his play, that number had fallen to 50%, a coin flip. Willy Loman didn't have this chart, but he knew. He could feel the ground shifting beneath him, even if he couldn't name what was moving. Miller's Uncle Manny was a salesman. Miller watched him come home exhausted, watched him lie about how the day went, watched him build a version of himself that the world kept refusing to confirm. And years later, Miller would say that the play was about a man who gave his life to a company, and the company didn't even remember his name.
There's no chance of bringing friendship to bear or personality. They don't know me anymore.
That's just the point,
Well,
Willie.
if I had $40 a week, that's all I need.
Kid, I can't take blood from a stone.
How of the year Al Smith was nominated? Your father
Kid,
came...
I've got to see some people.
I'm talking about your father. There were promises made in this office. You mustn't tell me you've got people to see. I put 34 years into this firm. Now I can't pay my insurance. You can't eat the orange and throw away the peel. A man isn't a piece of fruit.
Here's the thing about Willie that Miller understood better than anyone. Willie doesn't fail because he's lazy. He doesn't fail because he's stupid. He fails because of the story he was given. The one about working hard, being liked, and everything turning out was never true for everyone. It was true for some people, and Willie spent his whole life believing he would be one of them. Linda, his wife, says the most important line in the play. She says, "Attention must be paid."
Then make Charlie your father. You can't do that, can you? I don't say he's a great man. Willy Loman never made a lot of money. His name was never in the papers. He's not the finest character that ever was. But he's a human being, and a terrible thing is happening, so attention must be paid. He's not to be allowed to fall into his grave like an old dog. Attention! Attention must be paid to such a person.
She's not talking about Willie. Not really. She's talking about every person who did what they were supposed to do and still ended up with nothing to show for it. And that is where this story stops being about 1949. Because that man in the car, he's everywhere now. He's the 30-year-old with a degree and $80,000 in debt. He's a warehouse worker who was told his company was a family until the layoff came by email. He's the father who works 2 jobs and still can't afford the house his parents bought on one salary. Miller called Willy Loman a man way out there in the blue, riding on a smile and a shoe shine. 75 years later, the blue is bigger, and there are a lot more people riding in it. There's a scene near the end of the play that changes everything. Biff, Willie's oldest son, looks at his father and says, "I'm nothing, Pop. I'm nothing. Can't you understand that? There's no spite in it anymore. I'm just what I am. That's all."
$1 an hour, Willie. I tried 7 states and couldn't raise it. $1 an hour. Do you gather my meaning?
Vengeful, spiteful.
I'm nothing, Pop. I'm nothing. Can't you understand?
It's a confession, but it's also a kind of freedom. Biff is saying, I'm done pretending. I'm done performing the dream you handed me. I'm done trying to be the version of successful that you needed me to be. And this is the part of the play that echoes loudest today. Because the American dream isn't just something you chase, it's something that gets passed down, father to son, mother to daughter, generation to generation. And when the dream doesn't work, when the math doesn't add up, the guilt gets passed down too. Economists have a term for this. They call it declining absolute mobility. What it means, in plain language, is that for the first time in American history, a generation of children is less likely to do better than their parents. 92%, then 50%. Willy Loman killed himself because he believed his life insurance was worth more than his life. He thought the $22,000 would finally give Biff the start he needed. At the funeral, almost nobody came. Linda stood at his grave and said, I made the last payment on the house today, and there'll be nobody home.
First time in 35 years we were just about free and clear. He only needed a little salary.
No man only needs a little salary.
I can't understand it.
Arthur Miller died in 2005. He was 89 years old. By then, Death of a Salesman had been performed in every state in this country and in more than 24 languages around the world. In 1983, Miller personally directed a production in Beijing. He didn't speak a word of Chinese. He didn't need to. The actors understood Willy Loman immediately. Because Willy isn't an American story, he's a human one. He's what happens when a person is given a story about how the world works and then asked to build an entire life on top of it. When the story holds, it feels like destiny. When it breaks, it feels like it's your fault. Willy Loman's house was finally paid off the day he died. There was nobody home.